Dave Hakstol has finally been hacked. He's gone. He's been given the boot. Bye. But was it the right move? Caleb Weiler is here. I am Adrian Fedke. I mean, I guess it's obviously the right move, right?
Yeah, clearly it was the right move right now.
I'm curious about your thoughts on something, because I read something on Broad Street Hockey and something that Frank Saravalli and somebody from The Athletic was saying that, they're like, it's a shame that Hakstol didn't even get average goaltending during his tenure here in Philadelphia, saying that if he would have gotten some goaltending, that maybe his team would have been a little bit better. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I kind of disagree with that, because if you look at Steve Mason and to a lesser extent Brian Elliott, they were about league average. Unfortunately, this season we've gone through 6 goalies up to this point, so this season hasn't necessarily been fair to him in that regards. But Steve Mason was pretty good during his tenure with the Flyers. And then Brian Elliott is the definition of an average goalie. He's going to put up a .910 save percentage, give or take. And Steve Mason gave us a .915 save percentage, give or take. So I really think that it's Hakstol's system, especially with the defenders and the offensemen, that really hurt him, and that's what costed him to get the boot.
Yeah, because I got info here from this Sean Turney guy. Do you know Sean Turney from The Athletic?
Sounds familiar, but I'm more familiar with some other Athletic writers.
Okay, so yeah, there's like Charlie O'Connor. He's another good one.
Yep.
Sean Turney. So his tweet, he says, the Flyers have been playing a slightly dull style, managing a slightly positive shot share on below average shots. For and against, that might be purposeful considering the lack of goaltending stability. They've had shooting luck, but still can't get a save. So that's his tweet. I don't really know what that means, but that's why you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, it's just they want to keep low-value shots away from their goaltender. So if they don't allow the high-value shots to get in, even if they're not taking high-value shots, they're at least playing that awkward defensive zone where they're not allowing people to get those high-value chances. But it still happens anyway. So even so, in that system, the Flyers are giving up a ridiculous amount of goals this season. So even with having to go through guys like Lyon and Stolars and Pickard, who is gone now, I think that regardless of who we had in net, the way that the Flyers are playing this year, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. Flyers team save percentage over the last 3 seasons is 89.7, 29th out of the 30 teams. The only team that's better is the Carolina Hurricanes. That's it, 89.6%.
That is rough. I mean, you look at the Hurricanes, and they've been in limbo for forever. They picked up Peter Mrazek in free agency, who we dumped after we traded for him last season. So the Flyers definitely need to figure out their goaltending situation. Looks like Carter Hart's getting his chance right now to come up and play. He played pretty well last game, but I don't know if he's going to be the answer for this season or not, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll get into him in a second.
There's a little tease right there.
Yeah, little teaser. Didn't give anyone a heart attack last night. He kept it cool and calm there under the pipe. So actually, that was 2 nights ago already. Tuesday night, right? Tuesday night debut. Yeah. So just a couple more quick Hakstol questions before we move on. Just simply, why did this take so long?
So I think what probably happened was Hextall refused to fire Hakstol, and I don't think that was the final reason he got the boot. It seems like he was somewhat of a tyrant. And a dictator in the way he managed not only the management below him, but also the players. But I'm probably thinking that he refused to fire Hakstol because he was his guy. So I think Chuck Fletcher wanted to come in and give Hakstol a fair shake. I think the premature tweet from Dave Isaac saying that Hakstol was fired while he was on the plane back from Vancouver kind of forced their hand, because what I saw afterwards was reports saying that they weren't ready to fire him, but Hakstol asked for a vote of confidence. Maybe it was some sort of extension or just saying like, hey, you're my guy. And Fletcher couldn't give that to him. So they were kind of stuck in limbo there. And since he couldn't give it to him, he just fired him. And now we're kind of stuck until we can find a new head coach.
Yeah. And one more thing, because I know last year at some point, you're kind of like on the fence with Hakstol. You couldn't figure out whether or not you wanted him to be your guy or not. So my final question is, when did he finally reach your threshold and reach your limit?
Yeah, so it was probably sometime at the end of last year, early this year. He really just doesn't play the best lines. His personnel decisions weren't great, and maybe that was Hakstol forcing his hand. But you also saw this year that Andrew McDonald was still getting second or first pairing minutes. And as soon as Hakstol was gone, now Sanheim is paired with Provorov, and that was our best pairing and most time on ice for the last game. So I think that having a new coach in there or anybody, a new voice in that locker room and kind of mixing things up is going to be the way to go. But I definitely, going into this season, was not a fan of Hack anymore.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't remember if I used the stat in here yet about the goals. So if they got average goaltending, they would have allowed 85 goals instead of the 109 that they've surrendered. So that 24 goal shift, they'd go from minus 24 in goal differential to even. But obviously they're not getting the goaltending. So like the one last thing that the one guy said, he goes, the Flyers have a lot of things going right for them 5-on-5, yet their goaltending is undermining their ability to contend, and Hakstol being gone isn't likely to make things any better.
No, so we'll see. I mean, they haven't really given any updates on Brian Elliott. We were supposed to get one on Monday, and I kept my ears out for it, but I really didn't see anything. But with the break coming up here, hopefully that he has a bit of a chance to get healthy here. The Flyers have some goalies in Brian Elliott and Michael Neuwirth if he can stay healthy and perform well, and now Carter Hart as well. So they can probably get league average goaltending. I'm really not expecting playoffs this year at this point because they're last in the Metro or second to last in the Metro and bottom 5 in the league. So I'm really not expecting too much of a shift, but if we can see some type of forward progress during this season, I'd be happy with that.
All right, so let's get into Carter Hart now before we get into Scott Gordon, since we've already teased it a little bit. Thoughts on the debut from Tuesday night?
Yeah, so I thought it was great, and playing against the Detroit Red Wings was definitely a team to kind of ease into. Yeah. I was following a game thread on Reddit where halfway through the first period, somebody commented, they go, "Yeah, Carter Hart's still waiting to start his first NHL game." So, and then after the game, they were talking about how now Carter Hart has 10 wins against AHL teams. They didn't have a lot of high value chances. He did stop Larkin on the power play in the slot, which was a great save. And then he had a couple game savers at the end as well when the Red Wings had the net pulled. So overall, he showed why he's a highly touted prospect, his high hockey IQ and his great positioning, which allows him to make saves without it, looking too difficult. So I was impressed with his debut, regardless of if his save percentage wasn't as high as we'd like.
So he showed why he's got the gifts, but should he be up this soon? That's the thing. It's like that was the controversy, seemed like, with Hakstol, that he didn't want to bring him up. Then he got fired, and now Hakstol's gone, and now they finally bring him up. But is this something that they should be doing?
Well, it's kind of like a perfect storm right now because Scott Gordon is the interim coach who was playing Carter Hart as the starter over in Lehigh Valley.
So he knows him very well.
Yeah, exactly. So he kind of knows how to tell the players, the skaters, especially the defensemen, how Carter Hart is going to play during, while he's in net. So I feel like it's important for that kind of voice in the locker room that Scott Gordon provides, especially in regards to Carter Hart. I don't think he should be in the NHL right now, but we really don't have any other choices. So you give him, the 3 games before the break, and they're going to have a back-to-back Saturday or Sunday, so we'll see what goes on with that. But if he plays well and if he wins 2 or 3 of these games coming up, you got to give him a shot.
Yeah. So 20 years old, what kind of age do you normally see goalies brought up?
So you saw Matt Murray come up, and he won the Stanley Cup, I believe, at 22 years old, and then 23. Again, they won back-to-back, as much as I hate saying that. And then you also see guys like Vasilevsky in Tampa Bay and John Gibson, and those guys are 24, 25 years old, and they've been in the league for about 3 or 4 years right now. So it wouldn't be ridiculous to see him play a backup role starting next year. But I think Carter Hart was the youngest goalie to start since Carey Price about 10 years ago. So it's definitely impressive to see him playing and coming in and starting and winning. But you don't really want to ruin him, especially behind the team. So if the defense starts playing poorly again, you got to send him back to Lehigh.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so let's get to the actual interim coach itself and these Joe Quenneville rumors that will get into in a second. Scott Gordon. So he had been in the AHL with the Lehigh Valley. God, what are they?
The Phantoms.
I almost said the Iron Pigs. So he's in his fourth season there, 15-9-2 currently. So what can he bring to the Flyers?
Yeah, so really the important thing that he brings is a new voice, and he also knows a lot of the young players really well. He coached Carter Hart, he coached Travis Sanheim, Oscar Lindblom, Phil Verone, who's up with the Flyers now. He's an older guy, but has been playing with the Phantoms and was the MVP last year. So he really brings that voice and kind of knows those young players who were getting benched or reduced minutes under Hakstol. So he kind of knows what those guys can bring, which is really important. And his system seems to be a little bit different than Hakstol's. I'm not sure of the intricacies and the differences between them, but it seems like he's a little bit more aggressive than Hakstol was.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and he wants his players to push forward and you know, quick shifts and everything like that. So we'll see what happens.
Wanting them to push forward, isn't that going to help out Shane Gostisbehere?
Yeah, it absolutely should. I mean, you saw that in the last game where he scored the goal off that beautiful assist by Nolan Patrick and Michael Raffel. So if he's allowed to jump up into play like that, and it'll definitely help Gostisbehere and Sanheim as well, I believe, both offensively gifted defensemen. It should help them up, and Ghost has been having a horrible year. So losing not only Hakstol, but Gord Murphy as well should help turn that defense around.
Yeah, okay. Joel Quenneville. So apparently he doesn't want to coach right now. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, so he definitely wants to take the holidays off. So he did not want to start coaching before the Christmas holiday. From what I heard, he's actually skiing in Colorado, which sounds pretty nice. I wouldn't want to leave either. Yeah. But yeah, it sounded like the rumor was that Dave Scott and Paul Holmgren want Joel Quenneville to come here, and then Chuck Fletcher said that he hasn't talked to Quenneville in about 2 years. So they have a history. I believe the Fletcher family, Chuck's dad was the person who hired Joel Quenneville for one of his first jobs. So there's definitely a history there, and Joel Quenneville is definitely my dream hire. Not too often there's a 3-time Stanley Cup coach out there who's available. So I'd love to bring him in, but we'll see what happens. It's neither here nor there right now. He said that he didn't take the job, and Fletcher said he hasn't talked to him. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm curious how that's going to work. Is that going to be something that like they hire him for next year, or would they possibly hire him in the second half of the year? Yeah,
so Fletcher said that he expects Scott Gordon to be the coach for the rest of the year, but that's also similar to how they said that Dave Hakstol is still the coach right before they fired him. So he expects Gordon to be the coach, but if Quenneville comes back after Christmas, gives him a call and says, "Hey, I'll coach for you guys," you're not going to say no to that.
No.
So I think there's a chance, and they're probably looking and interviewing. They're going to have a higher crop of coaches available during the offseason. So I believe if Quenneville isn't here mid-season, chances are they're probably going to end up with someone else during the offseason.
Is Chicago rebuilding, or are they just really bad right now? Or just kind of underachieving?
Yeah, I don't think they're underachieving because they're kind of strapped in this this capped NHL.
Yeah.
When you have a player like Jonathan Taves making $10.5 million, not that he's a great captain, but for what he brings, that's probably a little bit of an overpayment. So they're kind of screwed a little bit there. And then the big problem is that Corey Crawford keeps getting injured. He just got another concussion. He was out almost all last year with vertigo. So he might be done for the year, and there's rumors that he may be considering retirement depending on how bad this concussion is. So they're kind of stuck right now.
Yeah, I was just curious why they would fire Quenneville if he's such a great coach. I guess just kind of warm out your welcome, kind of like the Andy Reid situation then.
Yeah, I think the rumor was that he wanted more personnel decisions, and Stan Bowman wasn't willing to give it to him, and they didn't have a great relationship. So the Blackhawks did it right, where they allowed the GM to fire the coach instead of firing the GM before the coach.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened.
All right. So minus 35 goal differential, worst in the NHL. They're in Chicago. So there you go. All right. So any final thoughts? Anything I missed?
I think the only thing is that Carter Hart's going to be taking the ice in about 19 minutes for a second straight start. They're going up against the Predators, who are one of the best teams in the league. They're getting back.
So this is going to be a whole new test for him.
Yeah, absolutely. The Predators are getting back PK Subban and Victor Arvidsson, so they're getting back two great offensive weapons, and the Flyers are really going to have to play well in front of Hart if they want to come out with a win tonight.
Okay. All right. So there you go. That's Caleb Weiler. I'm Adrian Fedke. I have no final thoughts when it comes to hockey. I'm sorry. I just got nothing. Nothing. Any Winter Classics coming up in Philly? Aren't they playing in one?
Yeah, they're playing the Stadium Series this year against the Penguins down at Lincoln Financial.
Oh! It's at the link.
Yep.
Yo, I may have to go to that.
Yeah, it's going to be sweet.
I may have to go to that. Yes, because I could get credentialed for that.
You could.
Yes.
There you go. You should do that.
I'm going. I'm going to that. That's happening. Absolutely. All right. That's Caleb Weiler. I'm Adrian Fedke. I can't wait for the Winter Classic now.
Peace.